Hello, welcome. You're watching Raised Power. My name is Mohammed Saleh. Now, the political crisis has further deepened in South Korea. Days after the lawmakers impeached the now suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol, the acting president and the prime minister have also met with the same fate. Now, earlier in the day, South Korea's lawmakers, led by the opposition, voted to impeach the acting president Han Duck-soo. Now, 192 of the 300 leaders present in the parliament voted to impeach Han. The ruling party, in fact, boycotted the vote, chanting that it was completely invalid. Now, the opposition has filed the no-confidence motion after the acting president failed to appoint 3 judges to fill the vacancies in the Constitutional Court. Now, the opposition has also accused Han Duck-soo of having a role in the alleged insurrection, referring to the short-lived martial law that Yoon had imposed on the 3rd of December. According to protocol, the finance minister Choi Song-mok has now been appointed as the country's acting president. At the same time, South Korea's Constitutional Court began hearing the impeachment case against Yoon Suk-yeol. The Constitutional Court has said that it will prioritize Yoon's trial, which will determine whether or not his impeachment stands valid. Meanwhile, the suspended president's lawyer has said that Yoon will in fact make an appearance in court for his impeachment trial. He also mentioned that Yoon's legal team is being decided at the moment.
We reviewed each regulation, but the court's attempts to send documents to Yoon cannot be considered as legal. More people are joining Yoon's legal team, and many people are applying, so the team will be finalized soon.
Now, outside Constitutional Court, pro and anti-Yoon groups gathered as the suspended president's trial began, and if the court upholds Yoon's impeachment, then South Korea will have to conduct fresh elections within a period of 60 days. So this, of course, is the big political crisis in the South Korean politics. There are 3 vacancies that remain in the Constitutional Court. Remember, the martial law debacle has put the South Korean nation on the edge. And there are pro and anti-Yoon protesters that had, of course, gathered outside the parliament. Now, Yoon Suk-yeol had briefly ordered for martial law, which plunged the nation into this political crisis. And also to give us more insights in terms of what is happening at this moment in South Korea, we're joined by Dr. Robert Edwin Kelly, who's a professor of political science at the Busan National University in Busan, and is joining us live from South Korea. Now, Dr. Kelly, thank you very much indeed, sir, for taking time out and speaking to us here on WION. And let me, in fact, start off by asking you this. You know, the kind of political crisis that we are witnessing at this moment in Seoul just keeps on getting worse. What is your assessment of the situation that is currently plaguing South Korean politics?
Yeah, I think crisis might be a bit too strong a word, because so far everything has taken place according to the constitutional rules, which is to say that Yoon acted out inappropriately in office. I think that's pretty well understood now. President Yoon did, right? But once that was established, right, once his impeachment vote was passed, once the National Assembly rejected the martial law effort, everything has more or less proceeded the way the Constitution requires. There hasn't been any street violence or anything like that. Nobody's been killed. There was a brief show of force by the military at the parliament that only lasted about an hour, right? So I think what you're seeing is sort of like the larger polarization of South Korean politics taking place. I'm not really sure if I would call it a crisis in the sense that South Korean democracy is going to break down. There's going to be military rule or something like that. There will not be. I think eventually Yoon Suk-yeol will be impeached and removed, and there will be an election, right? I think this is more the depth of the contest is more an illustration of how sharp right-left political polarization is in South Korea. South Korea's institutions are struggling to accommodate the sharp right-left split in the country.
Right. Now, the government is in fact accusing the opposition of trying to paralyze the entire, essentially the government machinery by staging these protests. In your assessment, how do you think this is a crisis that South Korea will be able to climb out of?
I do. This is, for your viewers, this is something that's actually happened to South Korea before. In 2016, 2017, there was a South Korean president who was at the top of a massive influence peddling scandal. She was quite corrupt. Her name was Park Geun-hye, and she was removed through the impeachment process. The process went through the entire constitutional requirements, right, of both the impeachment in the legislature and then also verification by the Constitutional Court, and all of that happened appropriately. Again, there was no street violence, there were no sort of police beatings of protesters or anything like that. And eventually she was removed and replaced. And I would anticipate that this will follow the same pattern. In a weird kind of way, it's I guess it's good for South Korea in that they have a template already for actually going through a full impeachment process. It's quite rare in democracies to go through the entire impeachment cycle from start to finish. Probably the most famous example of this would be in 1972, 1973, during the Watergate scandal in the United States. Richard Nixon was impeached, but he was not removed. The process didn't go the entire way because he chose to resign. In South Korea, the last president who was impeached, she went through the entire cycle. So the Koreans actually have some experience, if you will, doing this. So again, I would be surprised if this were to fly off the rails. I mean, I understand the concerns, but I would be genuinely surprised if this were to sort of explode in some way to really damage South Korean democracy permanently.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Kelly, for joining us and getting us that perspective there.
Thank you for having me.
The tributes continue to pour in for the late former Indian Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh after he breathed his last on Thursday night. Dr. Manmohan Singh was 92. He is survived by his wife and 3 daughters. The leaders from across the world bid farewell to India's former Prime Minister. Many wrote lengthy messages on social media, sharing their anecdotes from their interactions and meetings with the veteran leader. Now, all the tributes were unanimous on the enormous efforts that Dr. Singh had made to strengthen India's economy. The envoys to India from some of the biggest nations also expressed condolences at the former Prime Minister's demise. Now, the ambassadors of China, Russia, Israel and the United States highlighted the role that Dr. Singh played in furthering the diplomatic ties with India. Let's also now listen to what some of India's top political commentators have had to say about Dr. Manmohan Singh.
Most important element was liberalization, shoring up India's finances at a time when India was in deep economic peril. By just applying levers and addressing issues which he understood extremely well as an economist.
In every sense of the term, he was an exceptional man in every way, in terms of his intellect, in terms of integrity, in terms of humility, grace, compassion, kindness, wisdom, and his great learning. And it was not for nothing that the likes of President Obama and Angela Merkel sought his counsel on complex, grave challenges that the world faces in common. He was like a friend, a knowledgeable friend who was always willing to hold our hand. And never once did he lose his temper on any one of us. In fact, even when some of the ministerial colleagues were not saying things that were complimentary about the government, and some of us went and told Dr. Singh that he should please ask his colleagues and not to say negative things in public, he said to me very clearly that I don't intend to be a headmaster. They are sufficiently mature enough to know what they should be saying and what they should not be saying.
When one accompanied him or went on to places where he was going to be there, it was remarkable the kind of space that Dr. Singh received without even trying. His mere walking into a room would make leaders of countries far ahead of us economically stand up, listen, and want to be part of any discussion with him. Dr. Singh was someone who had taught at the Delhi School of Economics, where I had passed out of. So we had conversations not just about our alma mater, but also about the kinds of notions of economics that prevailed. It was always, in a sense, terrifying to speak to a man whose erudition was as deep as his was.
Now, Dr. Manmohan Singh served 2 consecutive terms as the Prime Minister from 2004 till 2014. So as we reflect on his legacy, let's in fact take a look at Dr. Singh's journey from a very modest village to the very top corridors of power in the Republic of India. Take a look.
Born in 1932 in pre-partition Punjab, Dr. Manmohan Singh's journey from a small village to the highest corridors of power epitomized both academic excellence and public service. Dr. Singh's academic brilliance took him to the University of Cambridge, where he got a first-class honours degree in economics in 1957. He furthered his studies at Nuffield College, Oxford, where he was awarded an MPhil in economics in 1962. His early career included teaching roles at the Punjab University and the Delhi School of Economics, establishing him as a leading intellectual voice in academics. In 1971, Dr. Singh joined the Government of India as the economic advisor with the Commerce Ministry. In 1972, he was moved up to the role of Chief Economic Advisor in the Finance Ministry. Over the years, Dr. Singh held high-profile positions, including Governor of the Reserve Bank of India and advisor to the Prime Minister. His defining moment came in 1991, when India faced a crippling economic crisis. Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao appointed Dr. Manmohan Singh as the Finance Minister to spearhead sweeping economic reforms. The bold reforms liberalized India's economy, laying the foundation for its rapid growth in the years that followed. In 2004, when the United Progressive Alliance came to power, Congress President Sonia Gandhi entrusted Dr. Singh with the Prime Ministership. It was a unique moment in India's political history, giving the country its first and only Sikh Prime Minister. An economist, a former RBI governor, was now given the responsibility to lead the nation. Dr. Singh's first stint as Prime Minister saw the implementation of transformative initiatives like the National Rural Health Mission, Rural Employment Guarantee Act, Right to Information Act, and the establishment of the Unique Identification Authority. These were all landmark reforms, all aimed to help the most needy and bring about greater transparency and efficiency in governance. The soft-spoken Prime Minister took another bold step to secure a historic civil nuclear agreement with the United States in 2008. The move shocked the communist parties who pulled out support from the Manmohan Singh-led government. Singh remained firm, asserting that the deal was to safeguard the nation's interest. The people of India re-elected him in 2009. Dr. Singh's second term was marked by robust economic growth and a continued focus on social welfare. While his tenure faced criticism for perceived inaction on corruption scandals, his legacy as a reformer and a principled leader remains intact. Dr. Manmohan Singh's story encompasses intellect, humility, and unwavering commitment to India's progress.
I honestly believe that history will be kinder to me than the contemporary media or for that matter the opposition parties in parliament.
His contributions to India's economic and political landscape left an indelible impression on the nation's history, making him a figure of enduring respect.
Now, the last few days of President Joe Biden seem to be fading away with little to no fanfare. So as President-elect Donald Trump's actions take center stage. On Thursday, Joe Biden, along with his wife, First Lady Jill Biden, arrived at St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands for the New Year's break. Now, as a president, after a somewhat busy month when he approved additional military aid for Ukraine and commuted the death sentences of 37 federal inmates, besides unexpectedly also pardoning his son, Hunter Biden. Now, despite all the hectic activity, Joe Biden was forced to take a back seat as Donald Trump has now taken over the media coverage, as he, of course, prepares for his second presidential term. Now, Trump has started laying down the groundwork months before officially assuming office. He's also met with the world leaders and top executives at his Florida residence and is making headlines by threatening to take back the Panama Canal. While some Democrats are disenchanted with how Biden has handled the end of his presidency. The Democrats say that there is a great level of disappointment in the way this presidency is ending, and it's almost like a resignation at this point.
I learned a long time ago, you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist.
Now, they also added, amongst the Democrats, nobody is looking forward to Donald Trump being the president, but everyone is ready for the Biden presidency to be done. Now, following his terrible televised debate with Trump in June, President Biden's standing has been completely destroyed. Now, looking weak and also occasionally seeming to lose his train of thought, the president has been plagued by inquiries about his age and his mental health. He was also compelled to give up the Democrat presidential nomination as well. The Trump-Vance Inaugural Committee is on the brink of a new record in inaugural fundraising. Pledged contributions have already exceeded the committee's $150 million fundraising objective. Now, Wall Street and corporate America has embraced Kamala Harris in the run-up to the U.S. presidential election, but they're now looking to make inroads with President-elect Donald Trump. Some business titans are offering a huge amount for his inauguration committee. Reports, in fact, are indicating that the Republican leader's second inauguration fund has potentially exceeded the record-setting $107 million that had been raised in 2017. Now, the most influential tech leaders are adopting a new tactic to talk to Donald Trump, who's always been against them. After Trump's 2016 victory, many tech leaders, in fact, kept their distance and hired well-connected lobbyists to curry favor. However, this time round, a steady stream of tech heavyweights like Mark Zuckerberg of Meta, Sergey Brin of Google and Jeff Bezos of Amazon have visited Trump's Mar-a-Lago club to personally meet with the president-elect. The Meta and Amazon donated $1 million just before OpenAI CEO Sam Altman pledged to do the same. But the automakers such as Ford, General Motors, Toyota have joined the tech companies, making $1 million donations to Trump's inauguration. Trump on his Truth Social said that everyone wants to be my friend, and that remark echoes a comment that he had made during a press conference earlier. Now, in the first term, everyone was fighting me. In this term, everyone wants to be my friend. This is a statement by Donald Trump. The Japanese government has approved a record 115.5 trillion yen budget for the fiscal year beginning April 2025. The budget reflects two pressing priorities: addressing the challenges of an aging population and also bolstering national security. The social security spending will rise to about 38.3 trillion yen, up from 37.7 trillion yen last year. And this comes as the country is grappling with one of the world's oldest societies. Over 29% of Japan's population is aged 65 or more, creating mounting pressures on welfare systems. Simultaneously, defense spending has been allocated a record 8.7 trillion yen to tackle regional threats, including those from China and North Korea. The Japan's defense budget also underscores its shifting security priorities. The 8.7 trillion yen that was allocated will fund the enhanced recruitment efforts for the self-defense forces, satellite systems to monitor ballistic missile threats, and also improved collaboration with the US forces, particularly in Okinawa. Now, the government has framed these measures as critical, with Prime Minister Ishiba highlighting the nation's toughest security environment since World War II. And this aligns with Japan's commitment to doubling defense spending to 2% of the GDP by 2027, bringing it in line with NATO standards. Now, the updated defense policies explicitly cite regional tensions, particularly with China and North Korea, as the key drivers. The record budget comes amidst political challenges for Prime Minister Ishiba, whose ruling coalition lost its parliamentary majority in October's snap elections. The draft must now pass the parliamentary approval, requiring cooperation from opposition parties. With the summer 2025 upper house election on the horizon, Ishiba faces mounting pressure to deliver results. Now, beyond defense and welfare, the budget also reflects the broader socio-economic hurdles, including the chronically low birth rates and cautious immigration policies. Japan's aging and shrinking workforce poses long-term risks, making the balance between immediate security needs and social welfare sustainability a critical focus of this historic budget. Now, in an eye-catching protest, Tamil Nadu's Bharatiya Janata Party unit president K. Annamalai whipped himself 6 times outside of his residence in Coimbatore, accusing the DMK government of inaction against the rising instances of crime against women in the state. Now, Annamalai also announced a 48-day long fast and has pledged not to wear footwear until the DMK government is removed from power in Tamil Nadu. The Bharatiya Janata Party is protesting against the state government alleging tardy response in cases of sexual assault on an Anna University student. Take a look at this report. And with that's a wrap on this edition of our newscast. Stay tuned.
In a year that reshaped the world, 2024 brought seismic shifts, bold moves, and unforgettable moments that will echo through history around the globe. Wars continued to ravage nations, but new alliances and power shifts began to rewrite the rules of geopolitics. 2024 also bore witness to nature's fury. Climate change fueled deadly wildfires, devastating floods, and unprecedented storms. Devastating wars to technological revolutions. 2024 was the year that changed everything. The Game Changers 2024. The year that reshaped our future. Only on WION. World is One.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yowon.com.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Well, thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION World is One. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and let's start this broadcast by taking a quick look at what is making headlines at this hour. Azerbaijan's transport minister has said that the Azerbaijan Airlines plane that crashed in Kazakhstan this week has suffered external interference, citing preliminary results of an investigation adding to speculation that it was possibly hit by an air defense missile system. The two passengers on the Azerbaijani Airlines plane that crashed in Kazakhstan have told Reuters that they heard at least one loud bang as it approached its original destination of Grozny in southern Russia. The fighters of the Khalid Brigade, part of Syria's Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, hold a military parade in Damascus. The relatives of the hostages held by the Palestinian militant group Hamas in the Gaza park their cars in the shape of a ribbon to call for an immediate deal to secure the release of their loved ones. The South Korean lawmakers impeached the acting president Han Duck-soo, sinking the country even deeper into the political crisis 2 weeks after his predecessor was suspended over a martial law declaration that has shocked the world. And Saudi Arabia will give the war-torn Yemen's internationally recognized government $500 million to pay salaries and other expenses. The Parker solar probe zooms by the sun during a record-breaking flyby, coming within 6.1 million kilometers of the solar surface during humanity's closest approach to a star. Now, Corbin Bosch becomes the first South African to take a 4-wicket haul and scores 50-plus runs on Test debut. The 30-year-old is unbeaten at 81 against Pakistan after day 2 at Centurion. Now, Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels have fired a missile at Israel's Ben Gurion airport. The fresh attack has come after the Israeli bombings on Sana's international airport. The Israeli defense minister has said that the threat is now in the skies. And our next story takes a look at the new missile war in West Asia.
The fighting between Houthis and Israeli forces is intensifying by the hour. Both Ben Gurion Airport and Sana's International Airport are under fierce attack. A wave of Israeli air attacks hit Yemen's main airport. Panicked passengers can be seen rushing out of the terminal in Sana'a. World Health Organization's Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus was just meters away from the attack on Sana'a airport when it came under aerial bombardment. The Israeli military says it attacked infrastructure used by Houthis at the international airport in the capital Sana'a. These images show broken windows, collapsed ceilings, the damage at the airport after Israel strikes. IDF also attacked power stations and ports, alleging they were used to smuggle in Iranian weapons and for the entry of senior Iranian officials. In retaliation, Houthi forces unleashed missiles targeting Ben Gurion Airport near Tel Aviv, while simultaneously deploying drones against the city and a vessel in the Arabian Sea.
The missile force of the Yemeni armed forces carried out a specific military operation targeting Ben Gurion Airport in the occupied area of Jaffa using a hypersonic ballistic missile of Palestine II type.
The assault disrupted flight arrivals for half an hour. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warns of more strikes against Houthi positions.
A short time ago, the Israeli Air Force attacked targets of the Houthi terror organization in Yemen, both on the coastline and in Sana'a. We are determined to cut off this terrorist arm of Iran's evil axis. We will persist in this until the job is done.
Israel's defense ministry is now expanding the procurement program for the Arrow 3 interceptor that is designed to counter ballistic missiles outside Earth's atmosphere. Israel's comprehensive air defense system, comprising the Iron Dome, David's Sling and Arrow 3, is now on heightened alert. As tensions soar, both sides dig in for a prolonged confrontation, with the Houthis vowing continued attacks in solidarity with Gaza, while Israel pledges to neutralize threats from Yemen. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of what is unfolding at this moment in this war in West Asia, we're joined by Professor Scott Lucas, who's a professor of international politics at the Clinton Institute.